Hi everybody, welcome back to the virtual Facebook Live. And I am Irene Johnson. You probably recognize me from some other discussions. And I want to introduce a new guest speaker today.
Hi everybody, my name is Steph. I work at the States Branch Library and I am thrilled to be here.
Awesome. So we are going to talk about a book. So tell us a little bit about it.
The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Daves. This is the book that we chose. It is a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. So very popular. You've probably seen it on the New York Times bestsellers. It is about a woman whose husband disappears and she goes on a journey with his daughter and her stepdaughter to try to find her husband, and you kind of you get to figure out all these different things, and also you get to build on that relationship that she has with this stepdaughter, which is a key part of the book as well.
So this book has been classified as a genre of suspense, thriller. What do you think about that stuff?
Irene knows I don't necessarily feel like this is a thriller. I feel like it has some suspense in it, but you're not on the edge of your seat. Like there's definitely mystery, but I mean, I personally didn't feel like it fit into a thriller genre.
There was a third genre that I found about when I was researching this, and it was called domestic drama. And I personally felt that that fit the best because it got that domestic. It was more than a family saga because it wasn't a family saga book. It definitely had elements of suspense in it. And I would disagree with Steph a little bit in that I think there was some thrills to it, but it definitely was a drama. It was definitely a book that you would turn around and say, this definitely had some interesting points in it, and it kept your attention.
Well, I feel like the domestic drama really fits the bill. I think that is like all-encompassing of a lot of what this fits into. So
the author, Laura Daves, who wrote this book, has written other books before, but this was really her one that she knocked it out of the park. It became a bestseller. If you're a Goodreads reader, it was on the Goodreads list for mystery and suspense as was the #1 for last year. So it's definitely one that a lot of people have said read. So my general opinion on the book, however, is out of a 5-star, I'd give it a solid 3.5. I thought it was a good book. I thought it was worth reading, but I was a little disappointed in the character development in this book. I felt like there was some pieces and parts with the character development she could have done a lot more. And I was also a little disappointed in the plot at times because it seemed like some of it got rushed. Like all of a sudden it all got crammed together at the end, and so that kind of disappointed me a little bit too. I like a mystery to be kind of all the way through the book. So that was kind of my general opinion.
I think that I would give it 3 stars out of 5. I think that I know you say you still feel like it fits into that thriller genre, but I was expecting more thrills, and I really did not feel that. So to me, that definitely takes it down a star for me. I really went into this hoping for it to be super exciting, and it didn't really have that for me. So just for that alone, that was definitely 3 stars. I thought that the character development was fine. I didn't think it was amazing. I feel like this book is not a large book, so I think she did a lot for what she had, like page-wise. I think that you probably actually could have made this book longer and really expanded on that mother-daughter relationship that I feel like Laura Daves really was focusing on throughout this book. So I don't think it was bad. I didn't love it. It was an okay read for me.
If it had been classified as something else instead of being classified as a thriller per se, do you think you would have given it more stars?
Possibly. I think that's the problem is I go into books with expectations when they have labels on them. Like when it's like, oh, this is a thriller, especially people, this book had big hype on it. Like there were people who really were like, this is edge of your seat, like you're really excited, like you don't know what's going to happen, and I just didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like I was like on the edge of my seat and I didn't know what was going to happen. For half of it, I was like, okay, like I'm more interested in the relationship with this mother and daughter than I am like what actually is happening here mystery-wise.
And it definitely draws you in the very beginning when he says the last thing he told me. So it definitely leads you to believe this is going to be a thriller.
Yeah.
Because it leaves you in that name that you're like, okay, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally the title, so.
So I'm going to start with our first question.
Let's go.
When you first read that Owen went missing, and Owen is the father, what did you think happened?
I mean, my first thought was this man obviously has so many secrets. I mean, it's like everybody goes this book reading going, clearly the husband has lots of secrets and has a hidden past. So we're here for the ride to discover what that is.
I was very interested to see if he was going to be a negative or a positive. Because I was like, okay, is this going to be he went missing because it was a good thing, or did he go missing because he's a criminal, and or was he mafia? That was one of the first things I thought. I'm like, is he like mafia? Does he have ties to the mob? What is going on that he just suddenly goes missing? And so, kind of tying into that going missing is our second question.
All right. Owen could have left any message for Hannah. Why did he choose protect her?
So, in the book, at the very beginning of the book, and you would find this if you even read just the flap of the book, basically the whole book starts out where Hannah is the wife, the daughter, Bailey, and basically she gets this note. A little soccer girl comes up to him and basically says, hey, he works at the school I work at. He gave me $20 to deliver this note to you. And she opens up the note and it says, protect her. And she's like, protect her? So why do you think he chose protect her?
I mean, okay, one, this is still supposed to be a thriller book. So obviously it's vague. It adds some intrigue. We're like, what does this mean? Who is this? I mean, it's written to draw your interest, and it clearly does. I mean, it's even in the very first, pages of the flap where you're like, okay, I want to know who this is, and I want to know why we need to protect her. So I think that note is your first, peak of interest, of being like, okay, this is where we're starting, and now we're getting on to this journey of, where are we going from here?
And we agreed that protect her was the daughter, the stepdaughter, Bailey, which kind of upset me a little bit, because what about the wife? I was a little upset about that because it was protect her, and I was thinking, you married this woman, and granted, take this for what it is, they'd only been married a year. A year. And this guy suddenly goes missing, sends a note that says protect her, and there's nothing in reference to, I'm worried about you too, I care about you too.
I agree, but
I was very, it was the first part of his character I really didn't like. I thought he was very selfish in this note.
But I think that he knows that Hannah can hold her own. I took that as being hey, I married you, one, because obviously I love you, but I also know that, you can take care of my daughter, who I love more than anything. And that was one thing that I feel like Laura Dave did a really good job. We never really even get to actually interact with Owen in this book. Ever. No. We are just going through flashbacks of their past history, how they met, so on and so forth. So I feel like within all those flashbacks, the one thing that you really got from him was, my daughter is the only person who I would do absolutely anything for.
And I agree, and I think that's the truth, but I also think it's very selfish that you've assuming that this woman who doesn't have a good relationship with your daughter, because she doesn't, is going to have those same feelings and caring about your daughter that you do. Now, as we go through the book, I think we can talk a little bit more about Hannah and how that develops, but I really think it was very selfish.
I mean, I agree. I'm not the biggest Owen fan in the beginning, but regardless, you're still okay, why is he doing this? You know what I mean? Part of you, like you said, you were like, is he a bad person? She plays on that. Is he part of the mafia? Is he a criminal? So on and so forth. So, I don't know.
So, the next question is why did Owen conceal his past from both Hannah and Bailey?
Well, what was the name of the General Grady, the Grady man, or Brady?
He was the U.S. Marshal.
The U.S. Marshal. I know that he was the one who told Owen that he had to hide everything from him if he ever wanted to have any semblance of a real life, that he literally could not tell anybody. I mean, he could have not taken that man's advice and told maybe 2 living people, but he probably was just thinking, this is the best way to protect these people who I love, so I'm going to do it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but...
So how would you react if your spouse deceived you about the central details of their life?
This question.
See, I would be furious. I would be beyond furious.
I know.
I'm like, what? We've been married a year, and now all of a sudden you're gone, and you left $600,000 in a locker, and
I know.
And
yeah.
I look suspicious because part of this too was, you leave this money. How do you know that they're not going to end up in trouble?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, it was kind of like, and these are like essential things. Like, I don't even know who you are. I don't know what your name is.
Yeah.
I don't know where you came from. I don't know your history. So I would have been really angry.
Yeah.
And I'd have a hard time forgiving.
I agree with you. I think that I was very angry for her. And I mean, I think she did a good job of like inciting that in every reader. You're like, oh my gosh, this poor woman, like, she loves this man, like, even though you don't get their whole love story, so much of like who they are and their relationship and their development is so real and authentic. And then to see that it actually isn't real, it's really heartbreaking.
And it hurt me deeply for her because as you read the book, you find out that when she was younger, her parents pretty much left her and her grandfather raised her. And she was pretty much turned out and her mom didn't want anything to do with her. And you know, so she's already been rejected in the past. Yeah. And so this rejection or this piece of the puzzle had to have been even harder on her because she was rejected in the past by her parents.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that that's why she fights so hard for Bailey. Like, it's like she has been rejected so much of her life that the one thing that she wants to do and that matters to her is to actually make sure that this one girl who is now basically her ward, that she takes care of her. Like, nobody really got to take care of her.
So why was Bailey so cold to Hannah in the beginning, and when did she begin to warm up? So she was pretty much a brat. I mean, she was really a brat. 16. She was your typical 16-year-old, I'm daddy's girl, and I don't want any part of you. And I really didn't like her. I was like, I was like very frustrated. I was like, oh my gosh, come on, you're being a brat, and you're not even giving her a chance, because she was really trying to make inroads with her when Owen was around, and they were not happening.
Well, I think you have to kind of go back onto like, what does Bailey know? Her entire life has just been with her father. So then to have a completely not only new person, but a whole new woman who is now basically her mother come into the picture, of course there's going to be, you know, there's going to be some battles. And I don't necessarily feel like Bailey reacted the best way that she could. And she definitely could have taken it better. And I do agree with you. She definitely was a brat to Hannah who was really, really trying to make a connection with this girl. But I don't want to say I justify all of Bailey's actions, but I can understand some parts of her and how she was reluctant to accept Hannah in the beginning, you know, after having a life that she has been living for a very long time, and then have somebody thrown into it and being like, here, new mom, you know?
I get that. Yeah, I get that. I think she began to warm up, obviously, when they got into this bind together, because they were in it together. It was basically, this is going on, and the only person that was giving her any information was Hannah. And it was at that point, I think that's where she began to feel like Hannah had what was best in store for her.
Yes, and her best interest, exactly. Like, and Hannah just continuously proved herself to Bailey when nobody else was telling her the truth. And there was even one part where, you know, Hannah told her like the full truth, and even Bailey was like, I just wasn't expecting that. Like, like basically, it's like nobody's actually ever been like full blown like upfront with me, and you really just told me everything. And I know that totally gave her brownie points. Like, that was like a really huge bump in their relationship, at least. So
I enjoyed the relationship as much as I said she was a brat.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching this relationship develop in this book. I think it was one of the best parts of the book.
To me, I loved it. That was.
And as a mom, learning to love somebody that is not your biological child and taking them in and loving and caring and being, I'm going to put them first, to me is the most selfless thing that you can do. And so I found that really inspiring, and I thought it was beautiful.
I agree, 100%.
What's our next one?
All right. Hannah eventually realizes that Owen has connections to Austin, Texas, so she takes Billy there to see if they could figure out the truth about the past. Do you agree with Hannah's decision to go to Austin?
That's a tough one, because basically you're going, 2-3 hours away to a place you don't really know what you're looking for. The only reason they're going to Austin is there's some vague memories that were out there that she thought she remembered a stadium and something in Texas.
Wedding,
And so it was pretty loose to go on, but at the same time, she was having a struggle because she had the witness protection guy who was all over her saying, you need to, be with trust me, listen to me.
Stay here, don't go anywhere, like you shouldn't be, and let's be honest, there's a huge like active case going on and she decides to up and leave her home and go to a completely different state and a new city. It does look a little bit suspicious, like if you asked her, like, would you do the same? Absolutely not. I mean, the note literally said protect her.
Yeah.
First thought is, just go to the scene of the crime now. That's definitely not what I would have done.
But I think in some ways she was protecting her because she was doing anything to find out the truth. Because I don't think either one of them would have peace without it, and I don't think she could make a decision on some of the things she was going to have to make a decision about until she knew the truth.
And I think that this goes back to like Owen basically picking the perfect woman for himself. Like, he knows Hannah so well that what she actually ends up doing is what he wanted to happen. Like, it all ends up working out perfectly. Right. I mean, not perfectly, but you know what I mean? Everybody is safe, which is what he wanted. So I feel like, in a weird way, I kind of like that aspect to it, for the book at least.
And then you've got the FBI as well. So you've got the FBI on her case.
Yes.
And you've got witness protection on her case.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got other people coming in and basically saying he was corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
His boss went to jail.
Yes.
So there's a lot of turmoil going on.
Yeah, and a lot of people telling her what to do. And I think that, like you said, there wasn't a lot of character development, but you at least could see Hannah start to make her own decision, and especially at the end when she basically is like, I'm leaving, like, bye. Leaves them there.
So we're not going to give all the spoilers of the book and tell you exactly how it turns out.
That's the last question.
But one of the questions at the end of the story...
Wait, this is a spoiler. I feel like if you don't want to spoil it, you should leave now. I'm not going to lie.
I don't think it's a complete spoiler. I think you should still read the book because we left out a lot. There's a lot more into this book. But did Hannah make the right choice in refusing witness protection? My gut as a mom says no. I don't think she did. I think she didn't because that meant that she would never have a chance to be with Owen again, and Bailey would never get to see her dad again. And I think that that is a huge part of a child's life. And I think taking that away from them and making it so that they would never see that again, I just don't think she made the right decision.
I hate this question because it really just makes me sad. Like, really, I feel like this is Hannah giving up her happiness and her husband for this girl who is now her daughter. But the one thing that you said, and I feel like this kind of sums up the theme of this relationship, is like selflessness. Like, being a mom is being selfless. And Hannah at the end, like, who she becomes by the end of this book, like, if she actually didn't make this decision, it wouldn't be on character. Like, I really thought about it, because in the beginning I was really upset. I was like, you all could have been together and everything like that, but at the end of the day, like, she really was like, I'm thinking about Bailey, and what would I want for this girl? Like, I understand, like, I'm not going to ultimately have my happiness, but, like, this is me stepping into, like, my role as, like, officially being mom. Because it's like we go from that progression of being, like, the stepmom that the girl hates, and then it's like, at the end of the book, like, she literally is the mom. So I feel like her choices and that ending, it's hard because you want it to be, like, a picture perfect, tie the bow, like, everybody's happy together, but I feel like for this book and for the character development and things that have happened, I feel like that was what had to happen.
I also wonder, too, if it was somewhat done out of selfishness. And this is going to be interesting to you.
Interesting.
Because I would be really mad at this guy. Really mad at this guy. And maybe I don't pick witness protection, but maybe the real reason I'm not picking witness protection isn't because of the selflessness of my daughter or my character. But I'm picking it because I could not live with this man for the rest of my life because I would just want to...
But do you
have nothing to do with him?
I get where your anger is, but on the page, like, we don't see that level of anger. Like, at the end, like, her making that choice isn't her thinking, I'm so angry and I'm bitter, so I'm not going to make this. It's like, I'm just thinking about Bailey right now. And, like, she's sad that she has to leave Owen. Like,
I know.
You know she is. Like, you read that part and you're like, this is a hard decision for her. It's not like your level of anger isn't where she is at the end of the book.
But it makes me sad because she's such a strong character, and to me it's like, why aren't you that angry? Why aren't you that invested in yourself that you realize that he behaved so badly?
Yeah. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. And even I, at the end of the book, I was thinking, that was the wrong ending, like it shouldn't have happened that way, it should have been different. And then I really like sat there and I actually thought about it for a while. And I don't say, it's not perfect, but I feel like for the way that the characters ended up becoming and who they ended up being and what their relationship ended up meaning, I feel like it made sense.
I think it made sense too.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I just had some different thoughts. Is there any other thoughts you had on the book?
No.
I think we covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed what we've had to talk about, I would recommend reading it. We are going to be doing a Zoom call. It's going to be next week on the 31st, the day after Memorial Day. And if you're interested, we're going to put the information for my email in the comments so that you can email me and I will add you. Or you can always go to our website and go to events and go to the virtual book discussion and sign up. And then I'll know that you're interested in coming and I'll make sure that you get the Zoom link. That's a really fun discussion as well. And we talk about different parts of the book. So it's not the same thing all over again. So thank you very much for joining us.